"I will not marry her," Richard declared firmly. "No one will persuade me to enter into this marriage." The tone in which the King of England spoke left no doubt that he would keep his word. With this, Richard definitively confirmed that he had no intention of covering up the sins of his father and the French princess, Adele, the very one who had once been promised to him. The young princess was an orphan from birth. Her mother, Queen Constance of France, died giving birth to her. Her father mourned for only a short time and, just 5 months later, took a new wife. Ironically, both the stepmother and the stepdaughter bore the same common name, Adele. The princess's governesses did not have high hopes for her bright future. The girl already had 3 sisters promised to various suitors, and it was hard to imagine that a good match could be found for Adele as well. Therefore, the little girl was taught only the most basic skills: to read, write, have a little knowledge of history and geography, dance, and sing. Modest skills, indeed. But when Adele turned 7, the situation changed dramatically. Suddenly, there was a prospect of marriage to Richard, the second son of the English king. The boy was not destined to inherit the throne. He was meant for continental territories. However, even in this case, the union promised to be quite advantageous. Richard would manage lands that accounted for a good third of present-day France. Adele was to be given the counties of A and Aumale. In the summer of 1169, King Henry II personally brought Princess Adele to London. Although she would later live on the continent, the girl was settled in the royal palace of the English capital until she came of age. She needed to learn the new customs and etiquette, but fortunately, not the language. At Henry II's court, everyone spoke French fluently. At that time, another French princess lived in England, Adele's biological sister, Margaret. She had been sent across the channel much earlier to be married off to the king's eldest son. But despite being sisters and having a small age difference, they never formed a genuine bond. The reason was that they were completely different. While Margaret, adhering to her duty, maintained a dignified and serious demeanor, Adele was a playful spirit. If the elder sister eagerly listened to her instructors, the younger one preferred to try on dresses and learn to dance. One was a born queen, while the other was cheerful and carefree, like a little bird. Was Adele more beautiful than Margaret? It's hard to say for sure. The sisters resembled each other. Both inherited their mother's striking features and luxurious hair. However, as they say, Margaret seemed chiseled from marble. She always carried herself with such grace. In contrast, Adele was full of life. It was this zest for life and charm that played a cruel trick on Adele. Barely 14, she became the mistress of King Henry II of England, engaged to his own son. As time passed, it was time to finalize the marriage between Richard and Adele. The King of England even signed a treaty with the King of France, promising to arrange the wedding. But the promises remained on paper. Unpleasant rumors began to spread. While in London, almost everyone knew that Henry was spending time with his future daughter-in-law. In France, they only suspected. The situation grew more scandalous with each passing year. The King of France lodged a complaint in Rome. Pope Alexander III delivered a verdict. Either the dishonored princess was taken in marriage, or the King of England would be excommunicated from the church. Henry had to react. He again promised to arrange his son's marriage to his mistress. However, Adele's charms did not release the king. She was too good to be left behind. Richard, infuriated by his father's actions, refused to even hear about the marriage. So, several more years went by. To make matters worse, the French princess gave birth to a child. The scandal could no longer be hidden. The bastard son of the English monarch lived for only 2 months, but Adele's reputation was irreparably damaged. Therefore, when Henry II died in 1189, Richard, who became the King of England, his older brother had died earlier, categorically refused to marry Adele. He offered the French monarch to take the young woman back. At that time, Adele's father had already passed away, and France was ruled by her brother, Philip Augustus. This monarch had been trying for several years to force Richard the Lionheart to keep his promise, made 20 years earlier. He even offered to marry Adele off to another English prince, John. But this union did not happen either. Prince John also did not want to marry a woman with a scandalous past. The king's mistress had to return home. The dishonored princess, who had been cast out, could have spent the rest of her life in a convent. But the King of France offered an alternative, to marry a nobleman who desperately needed lands and money. And Adele agreed. She, who was accustomed to luxury and joy, did not want to spend the rest of her days in prayer and fasting. Adele's husband was 18 years younger than her. The wedding to Guillaume de Ponthieu took place on August 20th, 1195, and in 1199, the princess gave birth to a daughter in this marriage. This happened during the same days when her would-be husband, King Richard the Lionheart, died. The princess's family life turned out to be short-lived. Her husband spent most of his time away from home. Even Adele La Française died in 1213, while her lawful husband was on a crusade. He only learned about it upon his return and mourned his wife bitterly. Guillaume de Ponthieu did not condemn his wife. Apparently, he truly loved her.